No, that's the water bottle. Did you hear thunder? Hmm. Let's take a look at the weather. Let's see what the Apple Weather app. Hey, we got rain on the way. Look at this. Look at that. Possible light rain. 10
All right,
to
man.
2 a.m.
We are on.
Yeah, you're going to get some water on your grass.
It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, given that you just gave it a nice haircut.
Yeah, everything except the back. We did
Oh,
the
kind of like a
front.
mullet.
We did the front. Yeah, we did the front, but we didn't do the back. Because my wife will ride on the riding lawnmower, but she won't push the other one. So she did it like 3 days ago. I haven't pushed yet, and
Okay.
now we got to get back in sync.
Do you flip a coin and see who gets to actually push it?
Hell
Come on,
no, she
someone's
gets
got
to push it every time. Or I get to push it every time, I should say. She gets to ride every time.
You have a zero turn, right?
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah, I do. I really like the zero turn. It's fun. The only bad thing about it is like you essentially have to keep your hands on it at all times. Like you can't have one hand off like holding a beer.
Because mine's got the steering wheel. I don't have the zero turn. I got the X380 one, which is a little beast on 4 wheels, but I don't know which one's better. How big is the deck on yours? That's a weird question. I would have said that anyway. How big's the deck?
It's a really big deck.
Yeah, I have to. I think 60 inches. I'm not exactly sure. I think the zero turns are larger though, aren't they? The decks or no? And do they move faster?
Don't ask me this kind of stuff
I'm
about lawnmowers,
I'm
man.
just curious, man. You seem to have all the other stuff about all the Milwaukee tool stuff. So I figured I'd ask you about this. You got your stats.
That's just because we have fun buying them and playing with them. But all right, welcome everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining. If you're going to be watching, tuning in.
Better be watching.
That's right. That's damn right. It's our number 3 podcast going on here. Only 3.
Trace.
And this is shit we skipped probably a good like month and a half. It's got to be.
Yeah.
You went on vacation. I went on vacation.
And then some work travels, some other life moments
came back.
Yeah.
Right, had death in the family, and now it's 5 or 6 weeks later, but we're back and we're going to be doing this weekly again, maybe more than weekly. So
I'm up for it.
Yeah, same here. I have fun doing this.
Hourly.
You know, I've started to do a bunch of new stuff in my life that I'm really enjoying doing. This being one of them, probably the biggest one of them that I really, really enjoy. The other being going to this like weekly like Christian get together. It's called Alpha, with like 10 other people, where we talk like about God and Jesus and the Bible, and kind of ask questions that you're not supposed to ask, and talk about things you don't talk about in church and this kind of thing. It's really valuable, I find it, and it's just been cool. It's just been a brand new experience. I just started doing. I really love it. But
Not to go heavy on any of that, I'm just curious, an example of a question that you tackled or was tackled by the group.
Yeah, like last night, the topic was really what is faith?
Ooh.
And then you start to get into all the questions that surround what is faith, and how do you display your faith, and for what reasons. The topic before that, 2 weeks ago, was who is Jesus? Who is Jesus Christ? And then, we talked about, is he a real person? Is he not a real person? What are the scientific facts of it? What are, how long was it from the sighting of Jesus Christ until the Bible started being written? And, all of these things like this, where it's just really good conversation with good people.
But you know what? That's healthy questioning.
Yeah.
There's not, I mean, I don't even think you're in a bad place by even questioning it. I mean, that's how you build your faith.
Exactly. I think you're exactly right. I was talking about the same thing last night with one of the women that were there, and she's like, she said to me, which I appreciated a lot. She's like, this is your journey. This is your journey of finding
Yes.
your faith, right? And
Your connection to God is unique.
yeah,
And it is for everybody. And how they find their path and navigate it and the ups and downs and probably some trials and tribulations along the way. God knows what else.
yeah,
That is, and faith is different than religion. I think we touched on that weeks back, but you can't conflate the two. They're two totally different things. But faith is unique, it's special, and it also, the stronger the connection you have with God, or I guess whoever you, or what you believe in, the intent is that it's meant to bear fruit. Bear fruit meaning the good you do. Does that make any sense?
it does. I think there's,
Because if you don't have a connection, are you really going to do good? Are you really going to be a good person, be nice, be helpful, or are you just going to be self-serving all day long?
well, right. I mean, that was another one of the questions that we kind of got into last night that I think of when you ask that is, what does it mean to be a Christian?
Bingo.
Right? And are you a Christian? And even the people that sit around and go to church and worship, are you a Christian? What does that really mean? But anyways, I didn't think we were going to really get on this topic.
No.
tonight.
I see. Yeah. That's for another night, maybe.
Yeah. We put a list of topics together for tonight. We put this list together actually like a week ago, but I think they're all still valid right now, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, and if anything, they've actually only intensified.
Yeah. So we'll talk tonight a little bit about all the demonstrations that are going on in all the universities across the country regarding, the Hamas-Israel war.
Yeah.
We'll talk a lot about that. We'll talk about kind of what's going on with Trump right now. Of course, Trump is always in the news. He was just in our hometown of Waukesha.
Yeah, he was
just,
Waukesha.
Yesterday, I think it was.
Was that a surprise visit, or did he have that planned? Because I was out of town and I saw he was in Waukesha. I'm like, damn, I wish I was home right now.
I never know until like 2 days before it happens.
Okay, but was it planned though? I think, I don't know, maybe.
I mean, it had to have been planned some.
You know what I mean, but like
right?
Days in advance, like, hey, by the way, Trump's in town, or no, I didn't hear anything.
I literally didn't hear about it until I think it was the day before.
Oh, really? Okay, where was he at?
The Waukesha Expo.
Oh, okay, the Expo Center. Yeah.
And they had like inside they had 1,000 person attendance, and it got so packed that they started telling people to go home. Too many people were showing up, so I think they said they told about 1,000 people to go home. But I went online and looked at just a couple of the Facebook posts.
Yeah.
Just about this one in particular, because it had the local newspaper doing Facebook posts. And just the comments in there are just visceral, man. Just nasty.
They are.
Like, I think back and go, ooh, do I want to live back in those 4 years where there's just that much contention and there's just nastiness and like people, and I'm talking mainly, well, obviously this was a Trump visit, and so it was not Trump supporters talking crap about anybody. It was, lefty liberals talking crap, and it was nasty. Some nasty, nasty stuff, man.
They hate this man.
Yeah, with a passion.
You can't even quantify it. You can't even put it into words. They hate him.
Trump derangement syndrome, right?
Well, I mean, look, he is the counterculture to their counterculture. I mean, he literally is the neutralizer to just depress them.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. Even the sheer sight of them, just these people just lose their minds. It's part comical, but it's also really kind of like, it's just strange.
Yeah.
It's strange, man.
Yeah, I hear you. The next thing that we're going to be talking about, that you wanted to talk about, Tim, was the happiness law.
The happiness
California,
law. Especially since I just came back from there, from a work meeting for a couple days, and
where you were super happy at.
Well, I mean, we'll get into it. I mean, Orange County is. There's pieces of it. I mean, yeah, it's beautiful out there, and you can be happy, but the rest of the state, man.
Yeah.
Anyways, what else we got on the list?
Well, this kind of plays into the ones about the Hamas Israel protesting, but a little bit of talk about is the old school protesting for the right things that the majority of Americans believe in. Is that right kind of protesting over? And what I
It
meant by that
is.
was like, you know, why are there no protests going on right now about sending billions of dollars to Ukraine? Why are there
Yeah.
no no protests on just taxes gone wild? Why is there no protests on inflation gone wild? Why are there no protests on the homelessness problem? Right? I mean, these are, you talk about taxation without representation, and you talk about the Boston Tea Party and why America was formed and all these types
Mm-hmm.
of things. And you go, man, people were bitching about 1% and 2% taxes then. Now we're just getting raked over the coals. And it's like it's normalized. No one seems to care. And everyone's out bitching about Hamas and Israel.
Yeah, the protest thing, couple things come to mind, and I know we'll expand on it. One is now, I mean, what we're seeing on TV and witnessing, and frankly, even in the last, I'd say 15 years of this kind of protesting, like the whole Antifa stuff, the Wall Street bit that went on like a decade ago it was, and all that. Um, there's, how can I put this? It's not so much that they're fighting for a cause. They think they are. The thing is that what they end up doing is they end up making themselves the cause. And if you can think on that for a second, maybe you understand what I'm getting at on that one. And on top of it, if you look at the way what's going on right now, sure, this whole thing started out as okay, fine, pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, hate Israel. That's just the surface. That's just the title. Really, though, what you're seeing on TV and what they're preaching about, it's everything from global warming, which I think is bogus, um, and then you've got the components of hate America, colonialism should be just trashed. Screw Christians, and if you're Caucasian, forget you too. I mean, it's everything now. It's feed the poor. It's take from the rich. It's they're just bundling it into one big angry argument about why this country needs to be completely burned and restarted. They want to control alt delete this thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of your questions is what is the end goal of all of this, right?
Correct.
And I think it's a really valid question. If you go to one of these universities and ask some of these protesters what's the end goal, and not just like Palestine and Israel, but what is the end goal? What are you looking for in general?
Hmm.
What would that end goal be?
They don't answer it.
Is it anarchy?
It makes you wonder, like purging, anarchy, just complete, uninhibited free for all. Take what you want. Don't you don't have to work for anything. I'm entitled to this, this, and this. I don't even think they can answer it. The funny thing is, whenever they're confronted by reporters, and maybe it's just the conservative reporters, the Fox Newses of the world, they never want to answer the question. And when they do get confronted with questions, it's more often than not, at least what you see on TV, it's they will refrain from answering, but they direct the reporter to a point person. That person represents like who can actually give an answer and respond, if that makes any
Such
sense.
as, give an example of that.
Think of it like in a company. I'm in whatever position, and someone says, "Hey Tim, can you please address this and answer this?" And I say, "No, I have to go to my boss."
Oh, sure,
That's
sure.
basically how they run it. They have a point person or persons that are intended to be sort of the tribe leaders or the troop leaders at these locations.
Yeah, some of this I wonder, is it, almost human nature to, when you're of that age, go against the grain.
Just be rebellious.
Yeah, just be rebellious, vote for the underdog,
Mm.
um, and there was the counterculture in the 60s. Is this
1968 Chicago riots.
right? I mean, is this that form of counterculture now, or it's just they're just going against the norm, man, and they're fighting because they want to fight.
Uh, Loaded question. There's no doubt, I think, a component of that. Inherently young people, and we've all been there. I remember in my teen years and even in my early 20s, even maybe to this day, but I do and have it, I should say, in the past. You feel like you're 10 feet tall and bulletproof, untouchable. You can just do stuff. I'm growing up. I'm a man. I'm a this. I'm a, whatever is going through your mind. And that attitude doesn't really get you very far. If anything, it can get you in some hot water and some really bad situations if you don't do it. If you do some stupid stuff. But there's that piece. Yeah, I think so. I think without a doubt, though, without a doubt, you have two other components. One, young people nowadays, more often than not, have been coddled. They've been handheld. They've been entitled, and they can't do any wrong apparently. And whatever they say must be right because they've never been told no. They've never had anybody push back. They've never had punishment. And so when they do these silly things on these campuses, tear down the statues, wear the bandanas, whatever, and fight the cops, like they think they're, heroic or whatever the hell they think they are. They're just dumb. But this is their thought process.
Yeah, next week I'm gonna have
A special guest.
no. Next week I'm gonna have this set up where I can actually pull up news stories and pull up videos that I've seen online and that I would like to show users because there's some really really great videos out there on X all over the internet. That just show such great examples of this. I don't know if you saw the one. It's probably on TV where they were asking two women that were at a protest in support of Palestine, and they were asking, "Why are you here?" And the one's like, "Well, I don't know. It's just a protest." And she turns to her friend and she's like, "Why are we here?" And her friend's like, "Well, I would need to be more informed on that," or she said something to that.
That's just it.
Where it's like they literally had no idea why they were at that protest. None.
It's like a fad. It's fun. It's like, ooh, there's something happening. There's activity. I can act out and be, inappropriate, for lack of better terms. What got me this morning? I took my kids to school, and there was a woman driving her minivan, dropped her children off, and this is the first time I've seen this at the elementary school. And that paint, that washable paint you can put on your windows,
Sure.
And she has "Free Palestine" written on her back windshield.
Oh wow.
And not only did she drop her children off, she proceeded to park in the middle and have the rear of her vehicle face the line of parents that are dropping their children off. She just sat there.
So she wanted to be seen.
Wanted to be seen, wanted to make a statement, wanted to just get in the way, if you will, or at least make it known that she's there. And there's no place for that, especially in elementary school. Like, people just want to get their kids to school safely. Like, that's all we're looking to do. And then you got this clown that does this stuff. Anyway.
Have you seen any
of that at your children's school?
Well, I was just going to see it. Have you seen anything else locally around here?
No.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, it really hasn't hit. Like we talked about in previous episodes, we live kind of in a nice area, and it really hasn't hit our area all that much in terms of signs or protests or anything of the sort.
I mean, I know Madison's having a doozy of a time, similar to what you're seeing on other campuses. I don't know if it's to the extreme. I'm doubting so, only because it's not on the news, but you never know. A lot of that stuff just might be kind of, just secondary.
Wait till the RNC.
Right, that's just it. Speaking of which, are we going to somehow get access to that?
Well, you can't actually get in unless you're what is it called? Unless you're some form of electorate, right?
Yeah, there's a slight connection I have to one individual, long shot perhaps, but I'd love to nab a couple ticks.
I don't think there is ticks. I think it's invite only.
Well, you're given a pass basically. It's
right.
You're a lanyard and you got a pass to walk in. But like I said, it's a long shot. I'm gonna see if I can't pull 2 ticks out of this.
Yeah, I would absolutely love it. That'd be amazing. I was looking before on the same thing. If you could somehow get them, and The only thing I saw is it was the electorates that they let in, and then news and media. Maybe we can say we're news because we have a podcast with 3 episodes.
Yeah, man. I think it's worth rolling the dice on that.
I wonder how we can sign up for that.
See, brainstorming,
Yeah,
critical thinking over here.
I'm gonna try that.
But yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be awesome to just see the Don walk out?
I'd like to see all of them. You know, I want to see
What is that, June?
either June or July.
Yeah, it's right around the corner.
Yeah,
Hell, it's already May. Half the year's almost over.
yeah, not far. One of my favorites, that persons that I'd really want to see, is Tulsi Gabbard.
She's very level-headed.
Yeah.
Middle of the road on some stuff, leans right on more things than not, has some, libertarian type tendencies on other matters. But yeah, and plus she's well decorated, served the country, the whole gamut. I mean, Air Force, right? If I recall.
She's in the reserves.
Reserves? I thought she was, okay, yeah.
She was reserves, and then I think she got married to somebody that was in the Air Force.
Maybe
for like
that's
4
what it is.
years.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking. Okay. I don't know much about her. I mean, she's always been at a distance and hasn't really. The thing is, she was actually silenced more than anything when she was trying to run. Like literally, media would not pick up on her. They want to give her any airtime, want to give her any playtime, nothing like that. I mean, she had a very, very difficult time just getting a chance to voice and get a platform.
I mean, she was screwed by Hillary Clinton
Oh,
and the DNC.
totally.
The whole DNC, and that's why she quit the party.
Yeah, she did.
And I love her reason though for quitting the Democratic Party, where she essentially says, paraphrasing, but essentially says the Democratic Party of today is not the Democratic Party of the past.
Oh, it's not. It's not even close, man.
No. She's like, she talks about what the past looked like to her, and it was for helping people and the rights of people and freedom of speech and civil liberties and just liberties in general, everything else. And she's like, it's all opposite now. It's all opposite.
It really is. It really is. I mean, it's not as though you and I were around in the, 70s, 60s, or the 50s for that matter, and not that I would even maybe vote for those people. That's not it either. However, those individuals of those decades that were Democrat, by today's standards, without question, would probably be shunned by the current liberal democratic machine that it is.
Right.
They would be cast away.
And why do you think the Democratic Party swayed in the way of being now the war hawks? I mean, is it just the
my only gut thought on this, because it really turned. I mean, Clinton was he moderated. I mean, he was a Democrat, but he ended up governing pretty much down the middle for the most part, and he had to moderate himself in his presidency. He was also under pressure for other matters too, but my gut tells me this. There was a fringe of society that grew, and it's obviously now that fringe has tentacles, if you will, to all different fringes. But moreover is the Democrat Party shifted gears on power grab. They want control of you. They love federal government oversight, overreach, control, anything. And it kind of, we'll talk about that whole happiness law a bit, right? Public policy. Like, who is it the government to determine my happiness? It's just ridiculous. And if you look at how everything from the federal government has spilled over and broadened its reach in the last 2 decades, I mean, it's terrible how much involvement they have in everybody's personal daily lives when you think about it.
Yeah, it's disgusting, actually.
It is. Just leave people be.
Right. What was the bill that was just passed, like today, or yesterday? Did you see the bill that went through?
What, another federal one?
Yeah. I can't think of it. I'll think of it.
Okay.
If I think of it, I'll bring it back up. but it had something to do with that as well. But yeah, back to, I mean, the Democratic Party and the Warhawks, even right now, it's all Democrats putting all this money in the hands of Ukraine and in the hands of even Israel, and you wonder, and it's the
Why?
Republicans that are half the parties that are voting no. I mean,
Yeah.
I just think, how did that change? When did the military-industrial complex become, voted on by the Democrats rather than the Republicans? That seems really strange to me. That used to be all Republican. I mean, when I grew up thinking of Republicans, you thought of the war party,
Mm.
right? And now it's not that way anymore.
I mean, if you really want to go way, way back, it's the 1840s-ish. That was the shift from divine providence to manifest destiny. There's a hard line between, parties and ideology at that time, and the whole manifest destiny was basically predicated on, look, federal government, we're going to basically control the ways in which this country is going to operate by hook or by crook, if you will. It was pushed westward as they expanded the U.S., and you can thank James Polk, president at the time, for unleashing what again is now known as manifest destiny. I mean, it was the mantra, it was the ideology that federal government is essentially your leader, it's your God, if you will, and that whole divine providence that inherently people ought to be free and not bound by a hierarchy, if you will, was basically dismissed by that group of people at the time. Hence why the Republican Party came out 20 years later.
Right.
Or 15 years later.
Well, it is what it is.
I guess so.
Right. Just looking through the notes here. Yeah, I mean, I had kind of one of the same questions in here that we hit on a little bit, but it's just, why are the young people riled up about this kind of stuff right now rather than the stuff that we should be riled up about, right? And
completely.
I noticed this a little bit more because I'm a TikTok guy. I was just showing Tim some TikToks that I was making for something else that he has going on. But, if you go on TikTok, I see a shitload of videos about people that are just fed up with, the wages that they're making, how they're living paycheck to paycheck. You can't pay rent. You can't buy food for your family.
It's hard.
I mean, I read, somebody the other day posted, one of my guys that lives in Florida posted average rent in Florida. And average rent in Florida right now is up to $2,800. And they didn't say for, a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom or whatever it was. I think it was just average. And it was up from like 2 years ago where it was $1,700, and now it's up to $2,800. And it's like, Jesus, man. And then, I mean, there's every other thing that you can think of that is just expenses going off the rails, and people are fed up and they're pissed off. And why are we not seeing protests about this? Why are we not seeing people getting together going, what the fuck? Why are you giving $60 billion to Ukraine when 70% of the country doesn't want that? When only 30% do? You're passing bills and giving out billions of dollars when we have so many fucking problems here.
I think the reason we don't see the protests is because everyone's too busy working, trying to just keep up. I mean, comedy aside, but that's sort of the old joke too. It's like, people, conservatives, we're too busy trying to pursue our dreams and put food on the table than spending our days holding signs and screaming at,
Sure, but I think
authorities.
That's not just conservative, right? I think that's,
I know.
I think that's a left view as well. I mean, that's an all-person view.
Yeah, the pressures right now for most people, it's almost seems insurmountable. It's like, how the hell do you get out of that rut? How do you climb out? How do you get up? it's tough because you don't have maybe the means, you don't have maybe the education, you don't have the opportunity, the wherewithal, something. I mean, there's probably so many sticking issues that prevent that individual and many of those individuals from realizing, a progression in their life where they can, buy a house one day, or where they can, enjoy a nice, new car. They can enjoy, just again, some safety and security financially. It is tough to get out of that.
Sometimes I wonder if it's lack of leaders coming out of the current generation that causes lack of uprise to fight some of these issues. And you were just talking about kids that are coming up. They've never been told no. They've been coddled. They've been this. They've been that.
Hell yeah.
Well, that makes them weak, essentially, right? And
Flaccid.
right, and without strong people to come forward and collectively organize people to fight on certain principles. Without strong leaders to be able to do that, no one's going to do it, right? And you see no one doing it right now.
True. A lot of that always starts at home. Would you agree?
Well, definitely.
Mother and a father.
Definitely.
You know what
right.
I mean?
Definitely.
But having that support and that guidance and leadership, but then there too, you're also banking on both parents being of a mindset that are willing to not just enable their kids and, oh, you're the best, and, oh, but really crack down and build them in a way where there's layers, and that they're tough and they have the ability to pursue and do and work and strive and determined and all those other adjectives. It's really an all-out effort to build your children up so they can grow up and handle shit.
Right.
I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, your children, my children, they've been born on third base. They're fortunate as hell.
Right.
And God bless them for that. But it still doesn't prevent me, and I would presume you'll be much the same, where it's like, look, if you screw up, or it's sort of the old thing of, and my son's like this, he thinks he's a little tough. And I'm like, okay, you think you're growing, huh? You think you can handle stuff. Tell you what, if you screw up, can you handle the consequences? I mean, that's the attitude.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you can't handle the consequences, maybe you need to temper it down a little bit. But a lot of these kids that are growing up nowadays, and you see it on these college campuses, even just look at them. They look weak-kneed. They look slope-shouldered. They're tiny. They're just like these people, like they have no... I mean, the men don't look masculine, number one, and it's just like everybody looks just frail, and they look like a bunch of wimps.
Yeah.
Just bitch and complain.
Right.
Whine and cry.
Right.
And then the funny part is, I don't know if you've seen, they're now making the demands, because they're protesting and they're camping out, and they're making demands for gluten-free foods. They want, ropes and zip ties, and they want other materials and fresh water and all this. It's like, wait a minute, hold up. So you're going to destroy these buildings, you're going to hold them hostage, etc., and then on top of it, you're supposed to be catered DoorDash?
Right. Well, they're giving that to the immigrants, so might as well give it to the protesters.
And that's just it, man. I mean, it's like you look at the cities, man, they're spending tens of millions of dollars trying to accommodate people that shouldn't even be here. They're legally here, and yet we have a border that's wide open, and we have homeless people in our own cities that need real help. You got people, I mean, hell, look at the north side of Milwaukee, south side of Milwaukee. I mean, there are families that are struggling, and there are good people, and they need a helping hand. But no, we're going to shell out tens of millions to help those that don't even need to be here.
I just cannot fathom, I just do not understand why more people aren't getting up in arms, and maybe I mean that even in a literal sense, up in arms, about these things, and why people aren't getting more pissed off, and why there are not more pissed off people talking about this amongst themselves and saying, why the hell is our government doing this? Why are the people that we elected and are supposed to be representing us, only listening to 30% of the population, or going with 30% of the population's, feelings or thoughts towards particular subjects? I can't get over it. It's mind-blowing to me.
Do you ever think that it's maybe just a matter of everyday Americans caving? Screw it. I'm just going to keep my head down, work, and do the best I can.
Well, I think it I think there's probably some of that, and I think there's the other part of it where I think there's just a lack of education in the country. I mean, a complete lack of education in the country. You ever watch the late night shows or anything like that where they ask people these questions that are just like,
Oh, it's so
you know,
funny, but it's sad.
well, that's what I mean.
Like, people don't know anything.
People are just so fucking dumb.
They are dumb, box of rocks, and it's amazing how they actually get through the day. Because
It
I'm
really is.
like, wait a minute, how do you not know? These are pretty basic things, but yet they're so uninformed, ill-informed. They get their sources from Yahoo News or whatever they follow, right? And on top
I
of
don't
it,
even think those people watch the news.
that's what I'm saying.
You know?
But they don't. But the little snippets they get, and all of a sudden, oh, that must be true. That must be correct. They don't question anything. They don't triangulate sources. They don't anything. It's
Like,
laughable.
what percentage of the population do you think is just that fucking stupid?
Oh, I'd bank on at least half.
That's what I would think too.
At
Which is really
least.
scary.
At
Which is really
least.
scary. Just like, some of those shows, you see people walking around Vegas asking questions of like, what does 2 quarters make? And they'll be like $1.50, and it's like, are you kidding me? Like, you don't know some of the basics, and you're allowed to vote.
You're allowed to vote. That's right.
And we had, well, how many people did we have vote last year? 160 million.
Somewhere in that neighborhood.
So half the population, half the
Yeah.
voting population.
Yeah, I don't know if they were all alive, but maybe some dead
Yeah,
ones
right.
in there too, the nursing home folks and everything. Do you ever think then that there is a very quiet but brewing underground, call it a rebellion group? And it's not like the Proud Boys stuff. I mean that's out there. I'm talking even deeper than that. That's just waiting to say, you know what? Locked and loaded, and it's go time.
No.
No? Okay.
No. I mean, actually think it's more like that's below the Proud Boys, right? Like that's worse than the Proud Boys, you would say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to put like levels to it, I guess I'm just thinking like
You're talking like our militia.
I'm talking like people that are very militant. They're
Yeah.
very conservative. They're just enough is enough. And now it's like, you know what? It's time.
See, I think there's that. Then I think there's the Proud Boys, which are like half of that, and then half of, half media, right? And then I think on top of the Proud Boys are
Cub Scouts?
like the growing, and I think at least it's like the growing young conservative people that are not militarized, that are not some crazy, Proud Boys, that are not racist people, that are nothing like that. Just the growing young conservative population that are starting to speak out more. They're winning. Like, you look at every podcast, nearly every podcast there is out there, it's conservative podcasting.
Yeah.
Everything on X is conservative podcasting. There's all the different even types of streaming platforms. Like Rumble is almost all conservative. Well, everything's conservative on Rumble, really. But like, where's the liberal side of that? There just isn't one. I mean, at least that I know of. And
NPR.
So, maybe NPR, CNN.
That poor guy
MSNBC.
got outed. You saw that, right?
Which one?
The whistleblower. He went on his show and said that essentially, and this is true. What was it, 86 or somewhere in this 84, whatever the number was. There are no conservative or Republican members at NPR. It is 100% liberal. It's publicly funded, the whole gamut. And he questioned it. He actually thought this is not the way it should be.
No.
He fair of him, and frankly, I applaud the guy that canned his ass.
Yeah, and I always think it's bullshit how NPR gets to sit back and say they're not publicly funded. Well, then it's just,
Right.
Yeah, okay, you're not getting tax dollars,
Same with Planned Parenthood, right?
right? But you're getting tax dollars from groups that are given tax dollars.
Bingo. Well, it kind of goes back to the Ukraine thing. There is an absolute vicious cycle of funding. I swear. Ukraine gets money from the U.S. taxpayer dollars essentially, and it's all just mortgage dollars future, but it's printed, it's sent, they get it. And then I swear through some cycle, it lands back in the coffers of the Democratic Party. I swear there are contributions that come back full circle,
Oh, yeah.
and it's a vicious cycle. And on top of that, I do believe the whole reason why there's this push to keep supporting Ukraine and funding and funding and funding. I think they got so much dirt on Hunter. They got dirt on that whole family.
I don't really think it has.
You don't
much
think
to-
so?
I mean, I just don't think that's that big of a deal. I think the
Okay.
president's so much of a puppet that I don't think that really even matters that much. I really think it's more so the military-industrial complex, like you're talking about, where, you know, we're sending them $60 billion. We're basically sending Lockheed Martin and Rockwell Aerospace or you know, whatever they're called now, and some of these companies $60 million. We're not sending it to Ukraine. We're sending it to the military-industrial complex.
Okay. So a roundabout way of
Yeah.
delivering.
Right, right. I mean, they're just gonna. What is Ukraine gonna do with $60 billion? They're gonna buy
Oh yeah,
American.
yeah.
They're gonna buy American ammo. They're gonna buy American planes. They're gonna buy American, you know, military equipment. They're gonna get American training.
Yeah.
It all comes back to the U.S.
So are you saying we should buy Raytheon, even though it's under a different ticker from a couple of years ago?
No, I mean, I think from a market perspective,
Yeah.
war is always good for those guys. Right now, there is always war. That's all factored into their stock price already.
It is. 9 months out.
Right.
If it keeps going up, 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 then that must mean that the war's going to keep going, going, going.
Most likely.
I suppose, man. I suppose.
Until someone pulls the plug. Until DJT gets in there. It really does make you wonder if Trump gets elected, what happens? Does he just cut off Ukraine? Does he? I don't think he'll cut off Israel. I don't think that'll be the case at all. But
No, I think he'll even double down on Israel, if anything. But no, I think he's going to sever so much of this funding for that. The United Nations,
Yeah.
which is just something more than a hack group.
Even NATO.
It's all just, dude. It's all scam. It's just a scam, all of it. You know, to give money to a pool of other countries so they can basically bash us and, you know, throw us under the bus. But yet, you know, they want our dollars, and it's silliness. I don't even know why we're even part of it. Honestly, I say screw them all. Let them sink.
I think that we should cut off funding to the United Nations immediately.
Completely,
And
yeah.
and that would just shut down the United Nations. The
Completely.
United Nations wouldn't even exist anymore.
Exactly.
You know?
And I'd be all for that because I
Me
think
too.
it's nothing more than a jump point or a jump start for what I swear is still a long-term goal, to have some sort of new world order, a global governance of sorts, where there's more uniformity of laws across. I swear it's just meant to be an apparatus for that down the road.
That's more the WEF, the World Economic Forum.
That too, yeah, like the G20 stuff and all that.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. When they go meet in, where is
Klaus
it?
Schwab.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't. I swear, the U.S. should literally just start disconnecting these extension cords, one to the next, and just isolate themselves in that regard. Let people feel the pain.
Well, that's what Trump said he was going to do originally, right? Or
My
start
God.
making people pay for their own shit.
Absolutely.
And even NATO, I think NATO's stupid right now. They just abolished NATO. There's no
Yeah.
point in NATO anymore.
Exactly.
That's the whole reason there's a war in Ukraine right now, anyways, because we sent Kamala Harris to right after Putin's trying to draw the red line of saying NATO cannot move any further east. We send Kamala Harris over to the Ukraine, and she sits there and asks the Ukrainian president to join NATO.
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding?
Did she cackle when she did?
Yeah, her chicken.
Oh my
chicken.
Lord.
What's the thing underneath the chin? Her chicken chin, just kind of.
It's like the turkey gobble thing.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like-
what it is. It's not chicken, it's turkeys.
And then on top of it, her word salads are always priceless. Ukraine needs help, and help is good, and it's good to help. And Ukraine is a good country, so we're going to help them. Something like that, It's just silliness. I mean, again, unintelligent, just bona fide idiot.
And no one told those weren't her words coming out of her mouth.
course
Someone
not.
told her to say that.
Of course.
And start this whole conflict. And
It's scripted.
This entire conflict was started by the United States.
Proxy.
I mean, we started it, and now Ukraine is fighting a war with Russia because we invited them into NATO.
Exactly.
And Putin's pissed.
Yes, as always.
Yep.
Which I wonder what he's going to do.
Did you see his interview with Tucker Carlson a while ago?
No, but was he wearing a shirt? I'm joking. There's the old the shirtless horseback where he looks, or he's like riding a bear or something like that with no shirt. And you got Biden on a bicycle getting ice cream or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Hey, at least he looks like a badass.
Or when they showed Obama in his mom jeans, and you got Putin like wrestling freaking lions.
Yeah, I know, right?
Just like
at least Barack Obama was smoking those Marley Reds for a while, though.
Was he? Okay,
yeah, right. Remember that? You got in trouble for getting caught smoking a couple times. I was surprised they weren't Newports. It would have been so much better if they were. It was those Marley Reds. But
why do they call them Newports?
Why did they call them Newports?
Yeah, just off topic,
I suppose they
Newport Beach or something?
I suppose they came up in Newport Beach.
I mean, it's something I can think of.
Yeah.
And the only reason I thought of that now is just because Newport Beach it's right up the Pacific Coast Highway. I was in Dana Point, and I don't know how far of a distance, but it's not far. It's just north up the coast. So maybe Newport. I don't know.
Let's ask it.
Let's see what Google says
right now and see where did Newports get their name.
Presuming it's not been rewritten history like.
Where did Newport cigarettes
originate?
They originated in Ireland.
Oh, okay. Not really in this.
The brand is named after Newport, Rhode Island, and is popular in the African American community. Oh, okay, thanks, Google.
So Rhode Island, so really completely opposite ends of the U.S.
Newport, Rhode Island.
Newport, Rhode Island is literally like on the opposite corner of the country's footprint compared to Newport Beach.
Interesting. Learned something new tonight.
Now I can sleep knowing that information. Rest easy. That's funny stuff.
Well, let's move on a bit here.
What else we got?
Let's talk about your happiness.
Oh, yeah, the happiness law. Well, it's public policy, so I don't know how they're really going to write a law, but it's public policy. There's a group of individuals, lawmakers in California, and they are cray-cray because apparently they believe that the government of California, which already is screwing up everything else you can think of and putting out businesses left and right, now wants to create happiness policies and what that looks like. And the first thing that comes to mind is you don't just get happy. Happy is a byproduct of something, right? Usually it's probably financial or tangible. You get something, you buy something, okay, you're happy. But that's even just short-lived. It's temporary. So I don't know what the government is planning to do to sustain happiness. And I know that people on that side of the table love the word sustainability and all that crap. So your thoughts? Just initially, I mean, there's nothing too deep on this other than just like basically WTF.
I mean, it just reminds me of a lot of the other ridiculous things that come up in California. It reminds me of the reparations that are going into the towns and people getting, $2 million a piece if you have any black ancestry, or, the homelessness where the groups that were tasked with fighting the homeless and given billions and billions of dollars, they then get asked, well, what are your measurements and what is your data for how well you have done? And they come back and say, we don't have any measurements. So you were just given billions of dollars and there's still a terrible homeless problem. It's actually getting worse, and you're saying you don't even have any measurements?
No outcomes.
No outcomes whatsoever. It's
last I checked, that's what things should be judged on, is the outcome. Am I right?
To me, it's just that's what it just reminds me. It reminds me of another, crackpot bullshit thing. But then again, maybe you can say, there's they're the testing ground for a lot of progressive movements throughout the states. There are happiness indexes
Sure.
that are used in other countries,
This is true.
right? And those can be very beneficial, but I don't know how much the policy is being enacted in California compared to like the happiness indexes that are used.
Yeah, and then if you have a happiness index, well, what if you just keep sliding the scale? They're not happy enough. Then they get happier. They're still not happy enough. You know what I mean? It's just you're chasing something that's not
What level of happy should you be?
right. Exactly, and then you got to somehow sustain that. And how is the government supposed to determine this and make sure everybody, or at least the majority, are quote unquote happy? It's silliness just of the nth degree when you think about it, because it's not. It's not a doable thing, if you will. I mean, end of day, it's just not their role. Like, it's just, again, it's another like extension of just reaching and trying to take control of something that they ought not even touch.
Right.
And again, happiness. I'm sorry, even try to wrap your mind around that one. It just makes you angry, maybe. But
So, what are some of the pieces of the policy?
well, that's just it. It's all in its infancy. So I read through the article twice. And a lot of this is about it's subjective, right? So it basically comes down to the elements of, first off, they'd have to define like what aspects make people most happy, and then how do you either cure that, remedy that, improve that. It's so far out there, like it. I don't even know how you could quantify any of it. Truth be told.
So this isn't actually policy that's being written right now.
They're conjuring it up, which
Okay.
if they're conjuring it up, there's people that want to get it going. That's the thing. It's California, which, again, the lunacy factor. I mean, for God's sakes, if you throw out a greasy pizza box, I think in San Francisco in particular, you have to actually cut out the grease part. You can throw that part away, but the rest of the cardboard has to be recycled. Otherwise, you're fined $75. Like, this is the kind of stuff they conjure up, and they think they're doing their part. But when you think about how it's one example of so many, but it's just, again, the lunacy and just the wackiness of their policymakers, lawmakers, and anybody else in between in that state. I'm baffled.
But you know what? Newsom's going to be the next
Nominee.
Democratic nominee.
He's got the look. I mean, he's a sharp-looking dude. He's
greasy car salesman.
Yeah, he's kind of got that,
Snake.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I picture if I shook his hand, I'd probably have to like wipe my hand off on my pants or
Right,
something.
right.
But but he does have a look, a persona. He's young. He's got a charisma, if
He
you will.
does have charisma. He can talk well.
Exactly. I mean, he's got that sort of swag to him. I mean, so he comes across differently in that regard. However, he's still a nutbag.
He can a nutbag that can bullshit with the best of them too.
That's just it. A smile, laugh, and people can be like, oh, they're so easily captured by an image.
Yeah.
Where they just somehow everything else is on the periphery. All they're looking at is, I like that person. Well, why though?
He debated. Do you remember when he debated DeSantis like 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago?
I remember they debated. I never paid attention much to it because I thought this is just like political circusry.
Yeah, it was almost like why? Like,
Exactly.
There was nothing in it for DeSantis. I really don't even understand why he did it. I mean, if he would have done fantastic, it might have made him look a little bit better, but there's really nothing in it for him. But I watched that debate, and I didn't know Gavin Newsom very much at all. But what I came away from is I wouldn't want many people debating Gavin Newsom. He's pretty damn good at debating. He looks well doing it.
Right.
He talks a good game.
He's a linguist.
And he just
Wordsmith.
lies to
Yes.
to your face about
Yes.
things and has no problem doing it. Like,
That is correct.
just straight up lies. And it's like, ooh, that's hard to debate somebody that just straight up lies.
People who have a comfort in falsehoods scare me.
Yeah.
Because they have, to me, it's almost as though, not to go down a tangent about soul and not having soul. I really, people like that, I don't think they have a soul. Because they're just okay with it. This is standard operating procedure. And they're actually comfortable. Like they feel good. Just telling you either what you want to hear or completely distorting the truth and making it a lie because it fits an agenda that they want that is self-serving. Like that's, to me, that scares me. And there's a lot of people like that.
Yeah, you know.
And that's how people get taken advantage of. Personally and certainly in the political world, Ken, but
Definitely.
it's just
I mean, I try to look at myself as a person that looks at both sides of things and tries to look through the lens of both sides and tries to figure out if there's a question, both angles, and which angle do I really believe, and then look into it. And I always think there comes a point where I go, like, I don't understand how a very smart person could be that much of could be a Newsom, right? I think he's probably an incredibly smart person, right? To get to where he is, to do everything, to accomplish everything he has accomplished. But can that smart of a person really have, can that smart of a person really have the knowledge or understanding that they do that sways them to think the way that they think? I just think that's an impossibility. So I go, where do they get this from? Are they just acting? Is it all an act? Or do they truly, truly believe this? And if they do, then they can't be that smart of a person.
So, political charade, perhaps, or
or I'm wrong.
Well, no, I don't think you're wrong at all. There are lifelong politicians who know how to put on the show, and it is a charade. Some are very skilled at it, very skilled, and they're captivating, whether you like them or don't. And then on top of it, there's just the human nature aspect of some people. They really believe that what they're saying is true, even though they probably know it's not, but they keep telling themselves it's true, and then they're convincing themselves to the point that they end up convincing the people they're talking to.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if that's the case. And you've grown up in it, and you've been part of it for so long that you just can't back out of it anymore. You're just in so deep.
That's just it. It's almost like, you're committed. I literally equate it to tribalism. Like, you are part of a tribe. This is the way you do things. You abide by these constructs.
Yeah.
These rules.
Right.
Like, could you ever see someone from the Kennedy family coming out and saying, yeah, I'm conservative? No. They live and die by their tribe.
No, Bobby Kennedy's almost doing that, but then kind of backs up. He goes that way, and then he comes back, and he goes that way, and then he comes back.
I think he's a twisted, like a calico of ideas that are just everything from strange to odd to kind of like, I can kind of get that, but not really. He's just, yeah, I think he's still like a loony left, though. Like, he's out there.
And what I do like about him is that he's not afraid.
Bench presses?
Well,
Shirtless?
Sure, yeah, sure. But what I do like about him is that he challenges some things that people just aren't willing otherwise to talk about. Like vaccine.
Yes.
Like the vaccines and the causes, how many people have Down syndrome compared to, there was something where it was like the Amish have like literally zero Down syndrome or autism in their communities. And why is that? Is that because of vaccines? And, like he actually talks about those things and isn't afraid to talk about those things. And that's something that I can really appreciate because I think more people should. I think we shouldn't be afraid to talk about those things.
To your point, and to even his credit, yeah, he brings up what would be considered uncomfortable topics or conversations, and he's okay with it, which frankly, I always laugh when you see people in the media like, we need to have a real conversation about this. The thing is that no one's gonna have a real conversation about whatever that topic is. You just don't. It's just BS. People go back to their corners, and they keep doing what they do, and they don't want to talk about it because nobody wants to actually really address the issue or address the potential problem in something.
Well, we should.
I agree, man, but that's, again, it's just status quo, and you keep rolling with the punches.
Yeah.
That's what these people do.
I don't know. I mean, it's same thing with, well, it's not the same thing. I could go on a whole tangent right now about healthcare. It's reminding me of healthcare and our healthcare system.
Yeah.
And hey, I'll give you this example. So my wife had a cardiology appointment, like set up for next week, and we just got new health insurance like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And we got it. We pay a ton for it. We pay like $1,600 a month out of pocket.
Ooh.
Because it's not through an employer or anything.
Right.
It's for our family. $1,600 a month.
Okay.
It's United Healthcare. It's gold coverage. It's supposed to be really good. All this kind of stuff. But she got her cardiologist. Their office called her and said, "Well, we don't accept your insurance. Freighter doesn't accept your insurance, and it's because you got it on the exchange, and this doctor in this office doesn't like it because they're not accepting insurance that's from the exchange." Yeah. And, I was talking to my sister-in-law yesterday, and I said, I really think from a healthcare perspective, this country needs to either go all the way back to privatized healthcare completely for everyone, or move all the way to universal healthcare for everyone. We can't be stuck in the middle like this because our healthcare system is so fucked up right now.
Dude, tell me about it.
Ridiculous. That's something people should be protesting about, man.
So, oh boy, can I mention one point about California real quick?
Yeah.
I just thought about this before, and I'm going to address what you just brought up too about
for sure
healthcare. While I was out there just a couple days ago, one thing I forgot to mention, where I was at Dana Point, so that Orange County area. Orange County is being sued right now by the state of California because just not too long ago, some months back it was, recent it was, Orange County had approved a measure to mandate voter ID going forward for future elections.
I heard about this, yeah.
And in turn, the state of California sues the county because of disenfranchisement and discrimination, et cetera, right? And I thought to myself, really? Like, this is a problem? So we're going to sue the county? And now here's sort of the funny, I don't know if irony or oxymoron is even the right words to use in this case. That county in particular is a very, very wealthy county. Like, there's not really, I can't think of too many disenfranchised folks, period. Like, just because economically it's really, really wealthy there. Like, what do you need a voter ID law anyways? But I support it. It's just, we need it in Milwaukee. We need it in Green Bay. We need it in, Chicago.
Right.
But anyways, just had to mention that. I don't know if you had any thoughts on it. Otherwise, I'll talk about the...
Well, I have a lot of thoughts on the voter ID stuff in general. I mean, I think, why can't, I just think of simple things like, why can't the government just send every citizen an ID card that says you can vote?
Right, there you go.
And everyone gets one in the mail. Not that hard, right?
Yeah, and that seems pretty cost effective too.
Right.
Seems pretty simple. Like, here's your hall pass to go vote once.
Exactly.
Once.
It doesn't seem that difficult to me. You can't have... There's no way around that one. And you have to be a citizen. You have to, all those types of things. And there's your ID. Okay, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, exactly. Not a bad... Yeah, I would agree.
Just different form. How simple would that be? And then the topic's over. It's done. But yeah, in general, I think you need an ID to do just about everything else in your life daily. And
pretty
to
much
vote is something that you should need an ID for.
Pretty much. Got to board a plane with one.
Anything, man. Anything.
Buy alcohol.
Buy alcohol. Anything.
Hell, I need a library card just to prove who I am to take a book out.
Yeah. Seriously.
Think about how silly it is as a book.
You want to go and buy Some over-the-counter drugs, you need
Yeah.
an ID.
Yeah, you do.
know.
Yeah, like if you want to buy your Mucinex
Right.
with the whatever the why am I drawing a blank? I should know this. I'm in the farm industry. What's the
Claritin, Sudafed,
it's got the what is the
pseudoephedrine.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's the component. Yeah, because
Right.
you might make some meth out of that.
Right. Right.
You know.
A bunch of people going to Walgreens buying all that Sudafed up.
Yeah, right. Because that's like, yeah. Instead, aren't they making it like out of cat litter and bleach now or whatever it is? I forgot what the whatever they
Fentanyl.
Yeah, right. But anyway, so yeah, healthcare. Oh boy. What is it? Trying to think here. 16% of the U.S. economy is healthcare related, I believe, something like that. Yeah, it's a whole industry when you think about it, and it is, man, because if you swing universal healthcare, then you're once again letting the government run something.
I agree.
They can't even get the post office right, man. They can't. They get the basics wrong, and that's the piece. And I don't want them making decisions for me at all. I don't want them having a hand in like, well, this is standard of care because the government has determined it based on this group of supposed best and brightest doctors behind the scenes. No way. But the thing is with you having everything private sector, right, and insurance plans, dude, we could talk about this for like literally days. But I'll give you like a snippet, for example. So on my end, being in the pharma industry, our company develops, manufactures, distributes medications. Okay, and when a new one launches, clearly the end game is to make money because we're not in the business of charity. Neither is any pharma company or device company. And you put in tons of research, and some things get approved and some things don't. On average, a product that fails to hit the market costs the company upwards of $700 million.
Mm-hmm.
So for every product you do launch, you're not only trying to recoup lost, dollars that have been spent in R&D, but now you're trying to make a profit going forward, and you get so many years on a patent life, and that's it. But I'm going to ask you one question. Take a guess. Now, in my company, we have about 50,000 employees worldwide. Okay, you start doing the math. I make a pretty good wage. There's a lot of people in my company who make similar wages, and then there's a lot of people in my company who even make more than me. And you start adding it up. You think 50,000 people at whatever the dollar amount is. That is not even our number one line item in terms of cost. What do you think our number one line item is? If you just had to just maybe guess, maybe you can piece it together. If you can't, don't worry. It's not even payroll.
Lawyers.
No. The rebates that we pay back to the insurance companies.
Oh, is that right?
So by the time our medications land in the hands of a patient, they go to Walgreens, they physically get the med, right? We developed it, we made it, we distribute it. It passes through 6 or 7 other parties who are basically brokering the exchange of that medication till it finally lands in a patient's hands. Because you have wholesalers, distributors, you've got the PBM, pharmacy benefit manager, you got the payer end of it, you got the obviously Walgreens in this case, or CVS, or whatever whoever's filling it. All these different entities are all getting their cut. And in the mix of all that, our company, like any pharma company, has to pay rebates, and that helps keep our products on formulary position, among other aspects. But when you think about it, that is our number one expense: rebates. It's
That's
not even the payroll on 50,000 people a year.
I guess I don't even understand the concept that well to understand what the rebates really are.
So that's just one component of it. I mean, that's just the pharmacy benefit manager side. Now you think about the service side, which is the payer, right? You're talking about, your wife has to go see a cardiologist. Maybe she has to have something done, right? Procedure. Or for anybody that does tests and services, if you will. And it's like, they the design and the way it's set up right now, people always say it's a broken system. dude, it is fractured.
Yeah.
It is so fractured. And I don't even like everybody always says like, well, I don't know what the solution. Like, what is the solution? How do you fix any of it?
I wonder the same thing. And that's earlier. That's why I said like either go all the way private or all the way public. All the way. I don't think it should go all the way public because, like you said, government really can't do anything well. I do think if anything, it should go all the way private. But I think the mix of public and private right now means that you don't want the public to be in control of you and your doctors and your choices and all that kind of stuff.
No.
But they already have their hands in there, and they're already influencing the private.
They do through the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So the government
And through the Affordable Care Act.
Right. A component of, well, it gets, defining it out and it gets a little messy, but CMS is really the driver for the argument this is, in that because there's Medicare and Medicaid, that is...
Move your mic over a bit.
Oh, sorry. Because there's Medicare and Medicaid, that is subsidized through government funds. Some states more than others, but end of day, it's just taxpayer money that's being used, but the government repurposes it as their own, and by virtue or by extension, can then make mandates and determinations on the type of care, the quality of care, what metrics you have to hit, performance measures, outcome measures. You know, are you hitting it on these chronic disease states, right? And they can basically stick it back through, or I should say to the, whether it's health systems and doctors on performance, and also limitations on maybe what can be done or performed, right? Tests, pharmaceutical agents, procedures, etc. And that alone, I don't even like the fact that they're even doing that through CMS. I know it gets like muddied, but if you understand the space a little bit, it starts to make more sense.
Well, I don't understand the space.
Don't worry about it. It's boring. It's boring stuff, man.
Well, cool. Dude, I'm tired.
Yeah? That's all right, man.
I'm tired.
10:30.
Do you want to talk about your app, what you're launching? You want to save that for another day?
We can save that one for another day.
All right, let's save it. Let's
save that one for another day, man.
Yeah, let's save it for another. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's call it a night then, because I need to get my beauty sleep.
Yes, you do, man. Sleeping Beauty over there. Yeah, exactly. I always be grumpy in the morning.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll have to check out the edging on your grass.
Yes, do that. It's pretty sweet.
So, real quick, how low do you cut your grass?
I don't know.
Do you have it? What do you have it set to on the rider?
We have it set to the lowest that it can go.
I mean, yours is almost like a fairway. It's pretty shaved.
That's how my wife likes it.
So silly, man. So I put mine to 2 3/4. So I'll tell you real quick, because the neighbors around here. So a couple of years ago, Janet and even Ashley, they were asking. They're like, Tim, how come your grass is so short? Because they were hiring people. I don't know if they were the same people as you folks hired at the time, but either way. And like, how come yours is always so short? And I said, look. They probably cut yours at 3.5 or 3 3/4, something like that, because my lawn was always way lower than everybody else's when they would be fresh cut. And I said, it's because they come back every 4 or 5 days and they're getting you for $75 a crack. Yeah. I'm like, but no. They said it's healthy for the lawn. I said, does my grass look unhealthy to you? And like, no, it's like nitro green. Right. I'm like, just cut it low. Tell them to cut it really, really low. So they started telling their people to cut it lower. But you beat me, man. I mean, you're going like 2 inches.
We're going low. We like it low. I think even in the back, I do it with the push. I just got lowest it could possibly go.
Yeah, you just want to hit pay dirt, don't you? You just want to kick up gravel.
Kick up the ground. Have no grass. I think grass is one of the stupidest things humans ever invented. Actually, no, that's not true. I think mulch is one of the stupidest things humans ever invented.
Mulch is just irritating.
I fucking hate mulch. We have to remulch right now. You know how much it's going to cost to remulch if we hire people to do it?
Whole property? Oh, I'm going to go with $6,000.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm right? Yeah. Holy smokes. How many yards is that? Like 40 yards?
40 to 50.
Dude, I'm getting my math right. Oh, man.
Oh, man. It's like $80. $80 with
That's like a semi-load.
$80
Like a big
yard.
bucket loader is like 40 yards probably.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
But we have
seriously.
so much bedding around the house.
See, when we built, we did the stone mulch.
Well, we have stone in the back, but
Do you? Okay. And there's pros and cons. I kind of like having the stone for obvious reasons because it doesn't really deplete, right? It's just there. Fresh mulch looks beautiful. Excuse me. I mean, it looks beautiful, but like, I don't know. What do you do? What would you pick if you could go back and redo it?
Stone everything.
You would stone it all.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never want to deal with mulch. You got to do it. If you don't do it every year, you have to at least do it every other year. If you want to do it, or if you don't want to do it yourself, it's so expensive.
Yeah.
If you do want to do it yourself, it's backbreaking.
That's just it. It is backbreaking work, man. Our last house, we did mulch on our own. We had a small little house, small, beds to do. But even then, I think it was, what did I get, 7 yards or 8 yards? It's like you got a wheelbarrow, you got a shovel. I mean, you're dripping, and it is grueling. And this was even 15, 20 years ago. I'm like, God, to do this daily?
Yeah.
And imagine if you had like a really big property.
Right.
Man.
Yep. So we're sitting here figuring out how and what we want to do, but whatever it is, I don't like it.
When's the last time it was remulched?
2 years ago.
Okay. So that means they'll rip out all the old stuff, basically, right?
No, they just put it over.
Just put it over,
Yeah.
pile it on top. I mean, I know it like sinks and it,
It
degrades, but
degrades, goes into dirt.
yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Well, mulch master.
Mulch at the
over here.
end of our podcast.
Mulch master.
Yeah. Everyone, hope you have a happy, healthy day.
Absolutely Cinco de Mayo this weekend. If
That's
anybody really
true.
gives a damn, I don't know. Do you celebrate?
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm
You don't
not
put on
Mex-
sombreros and
I'm not Mexican.
I don't know. A lot of people do. That's like the people who think they're Irish and they, celebrate St. Patrick's
Yeah,
Day.
I
It's
know,
like, kiss me, I'm
just
Irish, but dude, you're from like, Lithuania.
We might have some Tostitos, and some warmed up nacho cheese or something.
And then the following weekend's Mother's Day. So, anyways.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, man. We'll tell you what. Peace out, toodles, all that good stuff, and we'll have to catch up.
Cool. Roger
All
that.
right. Roger that.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.